Beyond the Bell, Bloomberg's comprehensive cross-platform coverage of the U.S. market close starts right now.
And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick alongside Scarlet Fu. We're counting you down to the closing bell. Here to help take us beyond the bell. It's a global simulcast with our friends Tim Stenovec and already vacationing Carol Massar. Welcome to our audiences across all of our Bloomberg properties. Carol, before you rush out the door for your whirlwind vacation, take a look at what's going on in the market because it's a whirlwind there as well.
Yeah, what a day, right? Unbelievable that we did have an equity rally and then that came undone. You've had a big move up when it comes to treasuries. What I've been looking for is a little bit of outperformance, and we're seeing that in the semiconductor names. Thank you, Samsung. Thank you, Lam Research. We got Lam after the close, but you've got the stocks right now up about 1.8%. Some optimism with both of those names giving positive earnings updates. So it makes me wonder about what we're going to get from Intel when it reports after the close today.
We just spoke to Sarah Ponsick over at UBS, our former colleague here at Bloomberg Scarlet.
I never heard of her.
Yeah, you guys remember Sarah.
Okay.
And she said, don't read too much into one-day trade. Like, obviously, with the market up 18% this year,
Is she
S&P
barbelling
500.
things as well?
I said it sounds like somebody managing money.
Yeah, she was.
Or
Carol did
advising
make that
clients.
comment.
I did say that to her.
But she took a step back and reminded us that, hey, we're in a situation right now where a lot of investors think inflation has come down. Certainly the market thinks that. But the biggest risk is that we don't see inflation coming down the way that it has been, and that the Fed will have to keep hiking rates.
Yeah, hawkish central banks definitely a theme. Also, rising yields, a big theme. And let's not forget, big moves in the currency markets too, Romaine, with the euro and the yen moving by more than a percentage point.
Yeah, big moves in the currency market, big moves in the treasury space, big moves in the VIX, and big moves right now in equities. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, which opened today higher by 1.5%. It's going to close down by about 0.6%. Similar flip-flops that we saw for the other major indices, with the S&P 500 down 0.6%, the NASDAQ down 0.6%, and the Russell 2000, that's your primary laggard here on the day, closing out the day lower by 1.3%.
All right, going to the S&P 500, Romaine, I'm looking at most names in that index to the downside, 380 to be exact, about 123, Scarlet, actually gaining some ground. So definitely more of a risk-off trade, certainly when it comes to the big cap names.
Absolutely. Take a look at the S&P 500 and the 24 industry groups, because you'll see some nuance there. Certainly it's a down day. Autos and components leading the way lower, off by 2.6%. Telecom services also down by 2%. You've got T-Mobile reporting soon. Real estate investment trusts almost down by 2%. The best performers, Carol, you mentioned it. Chip makers, chip equipment makers, media and entertainment also doing better, up by 1.2%.
All right, as we await a big batch of earnings, let's get to some of the individual gainers just quickly, if I may. Meta among them. That stock finishing up about 4.5%, well off its highs of the day, but certainly a standout today. We know this company really has been struggling in terms of the share price. Not this year, it was last year, but it's really clawed its way back in a big way. $8.5 billion roughly, maybe earlier in the day, wealth added to Mark Zuckerberg. So it really has bounced back here. Strong second quarter earnings. We know we broke it down yesterday, so we know some optimism in terms of their metrics. Lam Research, we talked about chips, definitely outperformance. This company top in the NASDAQ 100, and that's after it gave some strong revenue forecast for the quarter. We got Intel.
Intel shares, Intel earnings, crossing the wire right now. The interesting read coming out on the 2Q numbers. Revenue coming in at about $12.9 billion. We should point out that the client computing revenue, the component of that, does look like a beat. That accounted for about $6.8 billion of that revenue, and that looks to be a bit of a beat for what the street was looking for here. Now, here's your guidance going forward. The company is saying that for the third quarter, revenue on an adjusted basis will come in at between $12.9 billion and $13.9 billion. The average estimate on the street was for $13.3 billion. So at least the high end of that range would be a beat. The low end of that range would be a miss. The company also saying that it remains on track, guys, to deliver cost savings in 2023 of about $3 billion.
All right, well, let's see if Roku lives up to that 74% rally that we've seen here this year. It is up 9% in the aftermarket, and the company coming out with second quarter net revenue that beats estimates. We're talking about net revenue of $847.2 million. That's up 11% year over year. The estimate on the street was $774.7 million. Player revenue, $103.4 million. That's up 13% from the year before, and that is pretty much in line with with what the street was forecasting. But Scarlet, man, for a stock that's up 74%, it's up another 10% in the aftermarket.
Yeah, it just keeps adding to its gains. Let's take a look also at T-Mobile right now. T-Mobile, the third biggest telecom operator, raising its forecast for 2023. And in addition, it sees the full year postpaid net subscriber additions of 5.6 to 5.9 million. That is an upgrade from what it had seen previously, which was a maximum of 5.7 million. In terms of free cash flow for this year, it sees 13.2 billion to 13.6 billion. The midpoint of that is around 13.5 billion, which is what analysts were looking for. So T-Mobile right now gaining marginally in the after-hours trade, up by 0.3%.
All right, thanks, Scar. I'm making my way through some press releases from these companies. I want to go back to Intel and get that first shout out to AI here in the first paragraph of the press release. The company CEO, Pat Gelsinger, saying that Q2 results exceeded the high end of our guidance as we continue to execute. He said we're well positioned to capitalize on the significant growth across the AI continuum by championing an open ecosystem and silicon solutions that optimize performance, cost, and security to democratize AI from cloud to enterprise, edge, and client. Certainly wants to get in on what we've seen from NVIDIA and the like when it comes to AI and the chips that are providing, services to AI.
Yeah, I heard the words you said, Tim. I'm not sure I understood any of them here, but this is going to, of course, end up being more about execution rather than just about vision.
Yeah.
We've known what Pat Gelsinger's vision has been, even if now he's adding an AI component to that, at least publicly. But of course, we know that what investors really want to see is how they pull it off and whether they can regain market share, at least right now. Up 8% in after-hours trading. They seem to have some confidence in that.
Well, and the thing is, as you're making shifts and making changes, like we get what he's up to, right? But this impacts things like margins. The company, as you said, remaining focusing on operational efficiencies. But I'm looking at margins specifically. Third quarter adjusted margin of 43%. So that does look like it's beating what the street was looking for. They were looking for 40.9%. And so what's interesting, they had forecast about 37.2% last. I think even less than that last time around. That's an important number.
Yeah, let me just interrupt you and jump on Ford.
Please.
Ford crossing the wire right now. 2Q adjusted EPS looks like a pretty big beat here, coming in at 72 cents a share. The street was looking for 54 cents a share, and now the company revising its forecast for adjusted EBIT, I should say, on a full year basis. The company now saying that it expects 11 to 12 billion in adjusted EBIT. The high end of that range is a bump up. The previous range was 9 to 11 billion. So basically, the top end of its previous range, now the lower end of that range, the new top range at 12 billion. No matter which whether you take the top or the bottom end of that range, it's still above the average of analyst estimates on the street.
All right. Well, you were going through those Ford numbers, Romaine. I'm looking at Mondelez, the fiscal year organic net revenue forecast beating estimates, coming in at 8.51 billion, I should say, beating estimates of 8.21 billion. Shares in the after hours up by 1%. Second quarter EPS at 69 cents. The company adjusted EPS at 76 cents, I should say. The estimates were for 69 cents.
All right, Live Nation just crossing the Bloomberg as well. Second quarter revenue, that is a beat. Thank you, Taylor Swift and everybody else out there. 5.63 billion versus an estimate of 4.94 billion. Second quarter adjusted operating income, that is also a big beat. 589.7 million. The estimate was for 526.5 million. So if we bring it up, though, stock up about 3% here in the aftermarket. And keep it in mind, this stock is another one that's really been an outperformer, up 40% so far this year, continuing to head higher in the aftermarket. Scarlett, we're all out doing things, going to concerts, and they are definitely benefiting.
We certainly are. Going back to Ford for a moment, because we're now seeing a trade in the after hours up by about 2.4% for the stock. There's another headline crossing on Ford here where it is raising its full year forecast. It now sees adjusted EBITDA of 11 billion to 12 billion, whereas previously it was looking for anywhere from 9 to 11 billion dollars. Also full year capex of 8 to 9 billion dollars as well.
Yeah, interesting. You see those moves in Ford. I just want to jump over real quickly here to GameStop. No earnings here, but an announcement about the CFO who is going to be departing. The resignation right now of Diana Satterjea over at GameStop here. Daniel Moore is going to assume the role of interim chief financial officer. We'll try to get you some more details on that. The knee-jerk reaction downside on the shares right now.
Yeah, down about 1.4%, 2% as we speak. A couple more headlines coming from Mondelez. The company raising its quarterly dividend 10% to 42.5 cents, 42.50 per share. The company also saying that it's raising both its net revenue and earnings outlooks for the year.
All right, just go through some of the share prices because I'm just trying to get a feel of what we're getting here in the after hours. So Mondelez is up about 1%, guys. Roku is up about 11%. Intel is up about 6.3%. So we're getting some numbers that, investors are liking what they're hearing from these companies.
Well, let me do the glass half empty here. Enphase Energy, one of the biggest decliners in after hours trading. They did come out with their earnings. They missed on a lot of measures here. T-Mobile, which we reported, also down as well here. So a bit of a mixed bag depending on what you're looking at.
Enphase has been down about 37%. Like this sector has been kind of all over the place, right? But it's really seen a lot of pressure as of late.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, guys.
All right, have a good one, Carol.
Mwah. I will see you in about a week or so, so be well.
Enjoy, Carol.
Take
Bring
care of
back
this market,
gifts,
all right?
please.
Can you solve the inflation problem and all that good stuff? All right, that's a wrap. Our cross-platform.
I didn't hear what she said. Was it important, Kim?
It was important. She's asking you to solve inflation.
Listen to me
Take care of the market while she's gone.
Like your, like the glasses there, Romaine. Yours
Thank you.
too, Tim.
Thanks.
All right, that's a wrap. Guys, we will see you. I won't, but they'll be back tomorrow.